Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining today's Kesher presentation. I'll just give a very brief introduction about ourselves and about Kesher, and then we'll pass the word to Moises. So my name is Dora. I'm joining you from Budapest, Hungary, and there is also here Sebastian.
Hello.
And we are the two of us behind this project called Kesher, which means connection in Hebrew. And our aim is to introduce Jewish history, heritage, culture, the present day situation of Jewish communities around the world. And we visit different cities and countries and we learn about their Jewish heritage through Zoom presentations. Today is a somewhat of a special event because it is partly a Zoom presentation about Jewish heritage in Morocco, but you can also find out about an actual real life trip that is going to happen in April 2026 to Morocco. So it's a bit of both here. Of course, if you're only here to learn virtually, it's absolutely fine, and we are so glad to have you here. And if you're interested in traveling, then please stay also for the second part and find out about the trip, and every question that you may have will be hopefully answered. So, but first, let's start with the virtual presentation of Jewish Morocco. And to do that, I'll pass the word to Moises Hassan, who is a Spaniard of Moroccan heritage, and he's an honorary lecturer on Holocaust studies and anti-Semitism at the University Pablo de Olavide in Seville, Spain. And he's also the founder of Jewish Spain Tour, a fully licensed tour operator specializing in Jewish travel inside the Iberian Peninsula and in Morocco. So some of you may know that he's done several trips along with Kesher to Spain, and there is actually one happening this October. So those of you who don't have plans for the end of October, you can also join a trip to Spain. But today we're going to focus on Morocco. So I'll pass the word to Moises to share with us about the history and culture of Moroccan Jewry.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon to all of you. I'm based in Sevilla, Spain, and thank you for the presentation, Dora. As always, it's a pleasure being here today and being able to present this time not about Spain but about Morocco. In case most of you don't know me probably, I was born here in Spain. My parents were born in Morocco and they moved into Spain in the 50s. So I have a very strong Moroccan background, and it's actually fascinating the history of the Jews in that country, and that's what we are gonna speak about today, and also will include some personal elements at the end of my presentation. And of course, I'm sure that after you will have questions to pose, so please don't hesitate to do so, and I'll try to answer them all. So let's start. Let's see. I'm very good at traveling, not so good in technology. No, I did it wrong. Okay, 1 second. Not right. Okay, I'll try again. This one, step 2. Yeah. Here we are. I hope that everyone can see the screen. And as I said, I'm going to speak about 2,000 years of history, 2,000 years of history of the Jews in Morocco. I have to start with Roman times. So Islam hasn't been born yet. For information, Islam is officially born in the 7th century. So 2,000 years ago, when the north of Africa was occupied by the Romans, there was no religion. They were inhabitants, of course, and they were probably pagans. That were not Muslims. And this is the time when we find Jews in that part of the world. So 2000, it makes sense if we think about probably the destruction of the Second Temple in the year 70, and this is the beginning of the Gola, of the diaspora, and that's when Jews from Judea started to travel east and west. Some of them went to Babylon, some others went to the Mediterranean countries, north, Greece and Italy, south, North Africa, and reached the region which was called at that time Mauritania Tingitania, which is the green section in the map. And the main city at the time, there was already a settlement in the city of Volubilis. Volubilis is actually the pictures that that you can see there are from Volubilis. These are real Roman ruins, 2,000 years old. And unfortunately, the city of Volubilis was very well preserved until the 18th century, when a big earthquake struck in North Africa, and it caused a lot of destruction. If not, probably today we would be having a large Roman settlement in North Africa, much more completed than the pictures that you can see. And this element is a lamp with a menorah that was found in Volubilis. So we have to assume that there were probably some Jews also in that part of the world. So Jews, they settled in this map. Volubilis is actually next to Meknes. It's actually between Fez and Meknes, but that's the city of the Volubilis. But we know that definitely there were Jews all along the coast, from Tangier to Mogador. There were Jews, and also there were settlements in the Atlas Mountains, in the area of Tafilat, which is more or less around here. Okay, there were some settlements in this part of Morocco and also along the coast. Both areas actually were situated in the convergence of the caravan routes between Sahara and Morocco, right? So that's why in this area we found some Jewish settlements. We know that some Jews moved in North Africa at the beginning of the 7th century, and this time they were coming from the Iberian Peninsula. At that time, the Visigoths, they were ruling the Iberian Peninsula, and they decreed an expulsion in the year 615. And we know that some of the Jews that were living in the Iberian Peninsula eventually made their way down to Morocco. And remember, Islam hasn't been born yet. It's about to. Still, we have to wait another 7 years until 622, when this is official beginning of Islam, when the Prophet Muhammad escaped from Mecca, goes to Medina, and this is the beginning of Islam. So, as I said, 600 years before this happened, there were Jews already in North Africa. More or less, it took the Muslims like, I don't know, 60, 70 years to arrive into this part of the world. Remember, they started in what is Saudi Arabia today, the Arabian Peninsula, and they traveled all the way until they reached this part of the world, and they settled down, which is approximately by the end of the 7th century. The first state that was created by Idris I. He was an Amasi. An Amasi was a Berber. These two words are synonyms, Berbers and Amasic. However, Berber is a translation of the word that comes from barbarian, and they don't want to be called barbarians. That's why nowadays it is much more convenient to use the term Amasi, which are the inhabitants of that part of the world. Everyone knows them as Berbers, but remember, they don't like to be called Berbers because Berbers means barbarians, and they were not barbarians in that sense, okay? So the founder of the first Muslim state in what today is Morocco is Idris I, that founded by the end of the 8th century, around the year 785. And he created this state in what is central and western Morocco. So it could be something like approximately this area. Okay. And however, there were Jews already there, as I mentioned before, and there were Christians, and they did not. Most of the large majority of Jews and the large majority of Christians did not recognize him, and they decided to. They fought Jewish. We know that Jewish soldiers fought in several wars against Idris in this region, and when King Idris finally had a victory, most of the Jews moved into the mountain and desert areas that were not controlled by Idris the First. Okay, so it seems that at the beginning, the rebel of Islam was not so good for the Jews that were living in Morocco. Second, it was his son, Idris II, who created the city of Fez in the early 9th century. So at the beginning of the 9th century, the city of Fez was developed from a small village, and it seems that some Jews were already living in that village. The son of Idris I, which is Idris II, he was much better than his father to the Jews. So he invited Jews to live there together with Arabs. However, he restricted the freedom of the Jewish community in accordance with Islamic law. Jews were considered dhimmis. A dhimmi can be translated as a protected minority or second-class citizen. Okay, so, and this is what Islam says. Islam accepts the other religions like Christianity and Judaism because they are considered people of the book, and that's why Islam do accept these two religions, however, not at the same status. So at this point, and this is something that happened not only in Morocco, it also happened in Spain, in the Iberian Peninsula, when the Muslims came, Jews were treated as dhimmi, second-class citizens or protected minorities. And it means that they were tolerated, okay? So Idris the second, he created at some point the economic conditions that allowed some of the Jews to become prosperous. There is a golden age, and I mean, this term sometimes may be too much just to say something. It's a golden age. It sounds too good. However, yes, there is a development of Jewish, not only Jewish life, but also Jewish thinking in the north of Africa, which lasted for about a couple of hundred years. So we can admit that between the end of the 9th century until the 11th century, there is kind of a golden age, and the two main scholars are Yura ben David Yuh and Rabbi Itzhak al-Fassi. Actually, Rabbi Itzhak al-Fassi, his last name al-Fassi means from Fez. He was not born in Fez, though. He was born in I think it was in what today is Tunisia, but he traveled to Fez, where he settled, and that's why he's known as Itzhak al-Fassi, Itzhak from Fez. Eventually, al-Fassi moved north and settled down in southern Spain, in the city of Lucena, where he became one of the main scholars in the Talmudic Academy of Lucena. And in the 12th century, the Almohads, that were another Amazigh or Berber tribe, they developed a fundamentalist Islamic doctrine and built an empire that spread from Morocco to the west they ended, to the east they went to Libya, and to the north they went into Spain. So the Almohad Empire, they started in the area of the Atlas, and they spread out through east, what today is Libya, and through north, which is the whole southern part of Spain was captured by the Almohads. And they did not take the Jews under their protection. Actually, they were very intolerant, and they expelled the Jews. And actually, they tried to eliminate their presence from this area. Jews were actually persecuted to the point that their communities in some of the oases in Dra and Silmihasa were destroyed, and Jews in these communities were killed during this time. This is also the same time that Maimonides was in Cordoba, and he also had to abandon Cordoba in the year 1148. Why? Because of the Almohads. They crossed the Strait of Gibraltar and they took over the whole south of the Iberian Peninsula, and they imposed their fundamentalistic Islamic vision of religion, and therefore all the Jews were forced to convert. We know that, and this is something that scholars do not really understand why, but we know that Maimonides, he abandoned Spain because of the pressure of the Almohads, and where did he go? He went to Morocco. So, which is something that people, it's not so easy to understand why he was running away from the tolerance of the Almohads. He ended up, he moved to Morocco, but he did. He lived for about 5-6 years in the old city of Fez. Still today, there is a building in the Medina of Fez, a very old one, which is known as the house of the Rambam, of the house of Maimonides. We don't really know if this was the house of Maimonides. Probably it was not. I don't think it's that old, but locals, they call it the house of Maimonides. Even probably that's why he left. Maimonides, after 5-6 years in Fez, he left. He decided to leave, and it's not only that he decided to go, but also he counseled all the Jews to leave Morocco. We know that by 60-70 years after, probably there were no synagogues left in Morocco. So the Jewish life was actually not over, but next to be over by the beginning of the 13th century, because of the pressure of the Almohads. But then things changed, and now the Almohads collapsed, and another dynasty, also Islamic, took over, which were called the Marinids. And the Marinids, they gave the Jews a little bit better treatment. Even at this point, the resentment of the Sultan and his close ties to the Jews incited a pogrom in Fez in 1276. So now suddenly the new dynasty, they welcome at some point the Jews, and people didn't like that to happen, and there was a pogrom in the city of Fez in 1276, and very soon after, the Marinids, they established the new city of Fez as their capital. It's Fez Jdid, it's called, and in this new city that he created and he proclaimed his capital, Jews settled down close to his palace, and this became the Mellah of Fez, where the Jews lived under the protection of the Sultan. 200 years after, 150 years after, again, a change of the dynasty, and the Marinid did not manage to maintain control over the area, and the Vattasids, they came, and now the Jews already went into problems. So by 1465, after another 150, 160 years of fairly good life in Morocco, again, a new dynasty takes over, and the Jews were again into trouble. I just wanted to show you two of the old synagogues that still exist in the city of Fez. They can be visited. They are considered like museums, and there is one synagogue in the new city of Fez, which is the current synagogue for the current Jewish community. And there are two synagogues, which are Ibn Daran and Slat al-Fasiyin, who happen to be both of them inside the Medina of Fez. And here you have a picture of the cemetery, the Jewish cemetery. It looks so white because it's being restored very recently. In fact, there are 167 cemeteries and shrines in Morocco that are under restoration. And this is what the current Moroccan government is doing with Jewish heritage, which is something to very much appreciate. So when you visit the cemetery of Fez, this is what you will see, and there is the tomb of the famous girl Solika. This is probably the image of Fez that everyone knows, which are the tanneries. The tanneries, the tradition of tanneries in Fez goes back to hundreds and hundreds of years. And this picture is actually a view from one of the top buildings into the Medina, where you can see the workers that they are tinting the clothing. And this is something which probably everyone knows from Fez. Fez, it's actually one of the largest cities in Morocco, and today the population of Fez is about 1.3 million people. Out of those, I would say that 150, 160, perhaps 200 happen to be Jews. Fez is, as you remember in the map, is located in the northwest of the Atlas Mountains, and it is surrounded by hills. And actually, the old city is centered around the Fez River that flows from west to east. And today, still is considered the spiritual and cultural capital of Morocco. As I was explaining before, Fez reached its zenith during the Marinids, between the 13th and the 15th century, 1270 approximately till 1465. And this is when it gains its status as political capital. The truth is that many numerous madrasas, which are schools and mosques, were constructed in those times, and some of them still exist today. As I was saying before, under the Marinids, the Jewish population of the city grew, and the Melach was formed into the south of this new district. And at the end of the Marinid dynasty, when the Wattasids took over, the growth of Fez ended, and the city now started to compete with the Marrakesh for political and cultural influence. And it went down, and only for a very short amount of time, already in the 20th century, it became again the capital of Morocco, actually until 1912. And the city actually consists in two old Medina quarters. Normally, all cities in Morocco do have one Medina. In city, they have two Medinas and a new area, which was founded during the French colonial era. And Fez it has the University of Al Qarawin, which is actually the oldest university in Africa by far, and dates back to 827, if I'm not wrong. Okay, so this is what Fez meant to Moroccan and Jewish life into these years. We've have to stop now in the 15th century, by the end of the 15th century, because another event happened in the world, which was the expulsion of the Jews from Spain. And we know that a significant number of the Jews from Spain went down and settled in North Africa. We know that some of them ended went to Portugal, some others went to the Ottoman Empire, but some others went down and settled in Morocco. And upon arrival, these Jews that were coming from Spain, they were treated differently by the local Jews. The local Jews started to call themselves Toshavim, that means like the original ones, the ones from here, and they referred to the newcomers as the Megorashim, which means actually the expelled ones, the ones that have emigrated. So this was the communities actually didn't merge. The Jews that came from Spain did not merge with the local Jews, and as I was saying, they formed separated communities. The problem was that in most of the communities where they settled, the Megorashim, the ones that came from Spain, they imposed their reforms, their rights, their rabbis, and because they had much more, their knowledge was higher, they had commercial skills, they brought skills in arts and crafts, in weaving, in thread making, in metal work, in printing. So they spoke all Spanish or Spanish at that time, in contrast with the local Jews that only spoke Arabic. So they became like an upper class, and that's why probably they were rejected by the local Jews. And it took hundreds of years for these communities eventually to merge. Okay, then 40 years after the expulsion of Spain, there is a new wave of Jews that also comes from the Iberian Peninsula, which are, this time they come from Portugal. You know that many of the Jews that were kicked out of Spain decided to go to Portugal. There was an expulsion also from Portugal that took place in 1496. However, Jews in Portugal were not permitted to leave, and they were forced to convert. It's only when the Inquisition started in Portugal, which is 1536, is when now these Christaus Novos, these conversos, they decided to leave, and many of them went to Morocco. Okay, so as I was saying, the Wattasids that took power in 1472, and this dynasty only lasted about 70, 80 years, they took some Jews to their services and as artisans, and they also had some military skills, so they were very valuable for the sultans. The Wattasids were replaced by the Saadias, and which is another Arab dynasty, and they took over in the, I think it's 1554, 1555, and it was very instable. No, it was not politically stable. Okay, so the beginning of the dynasty, of the Saadian dynasty, was quite unstable timing, and even the sultans trying to finance all the military activities, and they were actually very much needed, they taxed the Jewish community very heavily. Okay, and to ensure that the Jews had adequate resources to pay these high taxes, the Sultan gave the Jewish traders the monopoly over sugar exports. So actually the Sultan, he wanted the Jews to pay very high taxes, but he also provides them with the possibility of making money to pay these very high taxes by keeping the monopoly of sugar exports. And also these traders were also responsible for a large percentage of European cloth and guns. And we know that the Jews played a key role in the current trade with sub-Saharan Africa, financing the exchange of European cloth and Moroccan cereals for gold, ostrich, feathers, gum, Arabic, and ivory. Okay, so Jews, as we can see, were very much involved in the trading. also from a political perspective, uh, some Jews were given very high positions within the courts. One of them was Samuel Palache, and he actually had a very significant role in what is called the Moroccan-Netherlands, Moroccan-Dutch relations. He served as an interpreter for the Moroccan ambassador into the Dutch Republic. So, and he played a very important role when the sign of the Dutch-Moroccan Treaty on Friendship was signed in the year 1611. The Saadians changed. A new dynasty comes. There were this dynasty that now comes in the year 1666 are the Alawites. In fact, the Alawite, this is the dynasty that today runs Morocco. So this dynasty, the Alawites, they have lasted, almost 400 years. And today, the current king, His Majesty Mohammed VI, is a member of the Alawites. However, the beginning was not very good with Mullah Rashid. And then his brother Ismail, at some point, he became a little bit better to the Jews. At that time, the center of power was the city of Marrakesh, and many of them had been destroyed by the first ruler of the Alawite dynasty, Mullah Rashid, and his brother Ismail. He helped and paid for the reconstruction of this synagogues. And members of some Jewish families, aristocracy, especially the Palache family and the Cabeza family, were recruited by the Sultan's court as agents and to negotiate with the European merchants that were entering in the country. By the end of the 18th century, there was a massacre. There were some massacres in Fez and some incidents in Mogador and Meknes. And this is also the moment when many Jews from Morocco moved into Gibraltar. They went there as traders. Remember that by then, Gibraltar has been already handed over the British. So it's no longer Spain, and it was England. And that's the reason that some Moroccan Jews, they were able to settle in Gibraltar. Meknes was actually the city of Moulay Ismail, the first ruler of the Alawite family, and he actually decided to settle the capital there. Okay, so, and it's quite interesting because Meknes is the only city in Morocco where the Mellah, the Jewish quarter, is not next to the palace. Okay, so normally, in all cases, if you go to Morocco and wherever is a royal palace, the Mellah, the Jewish quarter, is next to it, probably because of the protection provided by the sultans. But Meknes is the only city where the Jewish quarter is not next to the Mellah, to the palace. Sorry. Today there is a small, very tiny community in Fez. Again, there's a picture of the cemetery that is being over a very strong restoration, and there is a synagogue. You can see the entrance of that synagogue. It's actually in really bad conditions and needs to be restored, which is next to the cemetery. If we travel to south, I wanted to speak about Essaouira, or formerly known as Mogador, because Essaouira was a settlement founded by the Portuguese in the coast. Essaouira is very much southern. The coast of Morocco is about 300 kilometers south of Casablanca. And it has a strong Portuguese past. And as you can, during the 15th and the 16th century, Portugal occupied some cities in the coast. As I said, Essaouira was like the main one, but they also occupied for some years Tangier. And during this expansion of the Portuguese, the King of Portugal, one of the first, he built some fortresses along the coast. By the mid 19th century, half of the population of the city of Essaouira happened to be Jewish. Today, I believe that the number of Jews in Essaouira is no more than 6. Okay, but it was a time 170 years ago that the Jews were half of the population of the city of Essaouira. Now we move on to Marrakesh. Marrakesh, which was the city founded by the Almoravids in the 11th century. Remember, the Almoravids were the ones that were replaced by the Almohads, the fanatical Muslims. And we know that there have been Jews in the area of Marrakesh for hundreds of years. And the first documented community as a group, it's from 1232. So already the beginning of the 13th century, there were Jews in Marrakesh. There is a group of many Jews that escaped from Spain until under the pressure of the Almohads. They moved down to Marrakesh. Remember Rambam, Maimonides, they went to Marrakesh. And by the end of the 15th century, the dynasty has changed, and now they welcome the Jews, and they were very much involved into the commercial skills. The synagogue that we are watching now, it's a synagogue inside the Jewish quarter. It's called Slat Lasama, is the synagogue which is into the Jewish quarter. It's a functioning synagogue. They have services every Friday night and Saturday morning, and also during the main holidays. So it's a current synagogue. The local community of Marrakesh is composed of about, I don't know, 150, perhaps 200 Jews. And this is the main square in Marrakesh, Juma al-Fna. And we know that after the expulsion from Spain in 1492, many of the Jews that went to North Africa, to Morocco, they settled in Marrakesh. And now we travel east. We have to travel east to the Atlas Mountains. The Atlas Mountains actually separate the coast of the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean from the Sahara Desert. And in fact, the Atlas Mountains are one of the factors causing the desert's dryness. Atlas Mountain population is predominantly Amazigh, remember, Berbers, and they live in between Morocco and Algeria. Morocco, it's called the country of the contrasts, mainly due to its diverse geography, which features everything from snow-capped mountains and deserts to coastal areas and forests. Its culture is actually a blend of Arab, Berber, French, and some other influence, leading to a mix of traditional and modern way of lives. And so this is one of the characteristics of Morocco. Morocco, as I said before, is the land of the contrasts. And we have arrived after this journey to the 20th century, and the 20th century is quite interesting, and many moments, especially important for the Jews. The first element, or the first moment, is 1906, the Algeciras Conference. Algeciras is a city in the southern part of Spain. It's next to Gibraltar, okay, so it's around here. And the reason that the conference was held in Algeciras is because it was in between Madrid and Rabat, okay? So the reason for this conference was that Germany wanted, at the beginning of the 20th century, to get some possessions in Africa. And England didn't want Germany. to get any possessions. So at this point, England supported France and Spain to so they could be the colonizers of this part of North Africa. So actually, the Conference of Algeciras had like a main point, which was to avoid Germany to step a foot into North Africa, and if that led to French and Spain to control this, okay, that would be better than Germany. So this is the Conference of Algeciras, which lasted about 3 months, okay, and the agreement was that Morocco would become a protectorate divided between Spain and France. In this map, you can see the green section. The green section was the French protectorate, and the north, the pink section, was the Spanish protectorate. Spain was also given some other territories, which were Ifni and the Western Sahara. The Western Sahara was actually part of Spain until 1975. And as a side note, my maternal great-grandfather, he was one of the translators that acted at the Algeciras conference. He was fluent. He had been born in Algeria, not in Morocco, but in Algeria. He migrated to Morocco at the beginning of the 20th century, and he was fluent in French, he was fluent in Arabic, and he was fluent in Spanish. I don't really know why he spoke Spanish, but he did. And he acted as a translator within this conference. And that's the reason that when the son of my great-grandfather, meaning my grandfather, was born, he got Spanish citizenship. It was a present of the Sultan at the time to provide him with Spanish citizenship. So, as I said, 2012 is the Treaty of Fez. It's a consequence of the Conference of Algeciras, and by the Treaty of Fez, both Spain and France, they got a protectorate over Morocco. And so the protectorate is the period that goes between 1912 until 1956, with some moments where the situation changes significantly, mainly because of World War II. So in August 1951, the Vichy government, remember that they were controlling half of France, they, in de facto, they controlled Morocco, and they actually enacted laws that discriminated against Moroccan Jews. It's, for example, it set quotas on the number of Jewish doctors and lawyers, students at the universities from French school, and actually forced many Jews that were not living at that time into the Melach, into the Jewish quarter, to move in. Okay, by that time, the Moroccan Sultan Mohammed V told Jewish leaders that, in his opinion, Vichy laws were inconsistent with Moroccan law, and therefore he believed that Jews should be treated equally with Muslims. At the time, the estimated number of Jews in Morocco was around 270, 280,000. Some people would say up to 300,000 Jews. Let's keep a gap between 270, 280,000 Jews lived in Morocco at that time, which was easily 10% of the population of the country. And Sultan Mohammed V, he emphasized that the property and lives of the Jews remained under his protection. It's very well known that when the Germans, they requested the Jews of Morocco, the answer of the Sultan was, there aren't any Jews in Morocco. Everyone here is a Moroccan. And that's one of the reasons that many years after Sultan Mohammed V, he was honored as righteous of the nations by Yad Vashem for his strong position in the favor of the Jews. 19 48, there are some riots right after that. I think it was in June, so a month after Israel was created. There were some riots in Ujda and Jarada, and immigration to Israel started. At that time, it was permitted. Remember that still France and Spain controlled Morocco, and there was immigration to Israel. The estimated numbers is like 10% of population at a time, so 28 to 30,000 Jews immigrated to Israel. And in 56, Morocco gained independence, and things started to become complicated for the Jews in Morocco. The truth is that Mohammed V, who was proclaimed king, so he was the Sultan. He was exiled to Madagascar and he was brought back and he became the king of Morocco in 1956. And of course, he supported the Arab world into the war with Israel. And this, of course, affected the Jews. Still, 1958, Morocco became a member of the Arab League, and then immigration to Israel is banned. However, King Mohammed V, he died in 1960, and his son, Hassan II, came into power in February 1961. And he actually enabled negotiations to begin on a secret agreement between actually the Mossad, the Misguedet, and the Moroccan authorities, together with Hayas, in order to pull out Jews of Morocco. So there was a secret agreement between Israel and Morocco. It's negotiated at the highest level, and through the American organization Hayas, I think it stands for Hebrew Immigrants Aid Society, an economical agreement was signed between Israel and Morocco, and actually it was Prime Minister Ben Gurion and King Hassan II. So as I said, it was it was a secret agreement because, of course, the rest of the Arab world shouldn't know anything about this. And this agreement said it was very simple. There would be payment for every Jew that was permitted to leave Morocco. There was a down payment of $500,000 at the time, $500,000, and $100 per person, up to 50,000. So the first 50,000 Jews that were permitted to leave Morocco, this organization Hayas would pay $100. After 50,000 immigrants, the price would raise and would be $250. Okay, the reason the reason to justify this payment was that Moroccan government claimed indemnity. So they were saying, we are losing young people, we are losing hands, therefore we need to be compensated for that. So this was the justification for this agreement signed. We know that actually Spain at some point under the Franco government helped some of these little ships leaving Morocco, and the intention was that these boats would go to France, to Marseille mainly, but some of them ended in Spain. So there was like a Franco government, they decided to look to the other side and at some point supported by not acting this immigration. So total amount of money that was paid, the estimation is that about, I don't know, 80,000, 90,000 Jews left Morocco under this operation. It's called Operation Yachin, and with a total cost of about $50 million. By 1967, especially after the 6 Days War, there is also another wave of immigration. This is actually the moment when my grandparents left Morocco in 67. My mom had been born in Morocco, but he went to Madrid in 1956 when Morocco gained independence. Is when my mom, she went to university in Madrid. My grandparents stayed in Morocco, and it's only in 1967 in August when my grandparents decided that it was time for them to leave Morocco, and they left. And only my uncle, the youngest brother of my mother, he stayed in Morocco for another 5-6 months. he was trying to close all businesses, etc., with not much success. And eventually he went to France in 1968. 1978 is the peace between Israel and Egypt, okay, which is the first step. Everyone thought that the first country to sign an agreement would be Morocco because of its close relationship, but it wasn't. It was Egypt. But however, in 1986, Prime Minister Shimon Peres, he visited Rabat, okay? And in 1994, after the Oslo Agreement, an office of commercial affairs was opened in Rabat and in Tel Aviv. Actually, in 94, the Israeli office was opened in Rabat, and in 96, 2 years after, an office of Morocco was opened in Tel Aviv. However, and then 1997, the Jewish Museum in Casablanca is open, which was actually the first Jewish museum in the Arab world. Okay, it's in Casablanca, and still it's there. And in 1999, Hassan II died, and his son Mohammed V succeeded his father, and his goal was to open a little bit more the society. Due to the second Intifada, the offices in Rabat and Tel Aviv were closed in 2000 and the year 2000, mostly because of the pressure of the Arab world. However, negotiations and relations kept moving on under the table. In 2003, as you can see, Israel Foreign Minister visited Rabat, and by 2011, a new constitution is proclaimed in Morocco. And for the first time, and I think it's the only constitution in the world, it mentions the Jewish influence into the Moroccan society. In the preamble of the constitution, it says, and let me read it for you, the unity of Morocco is forged by the convergence of its Arab Islamites, Amazigh, and Saharan Hassanic components, nourished and enriched by its African, Andalusia, Jewish, and Mediterranean influences. So the Constitution of Morocco acknowledges the importance of Judaism in what they are today. 2012, a rehabilitation project started, which is under the authority of the king. And the intention is to preserve the cultural and spiritual heritage of Moroccan Jews. 2018, and it's not in the presentation, but which I forgot, but in 2018, Holocaust studies became mandatory in Morocco. So high school students, they have to learn about what happened in the Holocaust to the Jews, okay? And in 2020 is when, under the Abraham Accords, Morocco announced the resume of relations. Now, these relationships were made public, okay? A few words about current life in Morocco. I know that it's already 50 minutes, but I need 2 more minutes to finish the presentation. Now, today, the large majority of the Moroccan Jews, they live in Casablanca. Casablanca's Jewish community is about 1,500, 1,600 Jews. It's very active. There are Jewish day schools in Casablanca, Jewish restaurants, many synagogues, a Chabad house, etc., etc. And something quite interesting. This is the main newspaper in Morocco. It's called Le Matin, the morning. And if you see here on top, it has a date. I mean, I just downloaded today, which is the 4th of September, but it's also the 11th of Rabi'a. This is according to the Islamic calendar. This is according to the Amazigh, the Berber calendar. And today is the 11th of Elul, 5785. This is according to the Jewish calendar. So the main newspaper in Morocco, every day, they have the date in the 4 different calendars. Here we see a picture of King Mohammed VI visiting the Jewish meeting in Casablanca, or visiting by Zakira, which is in Essaouira, which is a center. It's not a museum. It's a center of of for teaching Moroccans about Jewish history. Actually, this gentleman next to the king, his name is Andre Azoulay, and he's the one of the royal counselors of the king. So the king of Morocco. Morocco is a parliamentary monarchy, so there is a king, then there is a prime minister with some ministers. However, the king has got advisors. He's got 6 advisors, and the king himself appoint the advisors at his wishes. Okay, so he decides who is his advisor, and Monsieur André Azoulay, he is one of the 6 advisors to King Mohammed VI. Actually, André Azoulay was advisor to his father. When Mohammed VI became the king, he replaced the other 5 advisors, but he kept André Azoulay, and still today, he's 82 years old already, and he is still the advisor of King of Morocco. And just to finish, okay, and this is the meal. This is the meal that we were doing. This is a tradition to put this food on the table near the Mimona. Today, Mimona has become like a celebration all throughout the Jewish world, but remember that it comes from Morocco. Okay, and can you see the documents? Can you see
Not
this?
yet.
No. Okay.
Now, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So this is actually the driver's license of my grandparents. I mean, you can see it was issued in 1937. So in 1937, my grandmother was driving in Morocco. Okay, and this is the ketubah of my parents. They got married in Morocco in the city of Kenitra, and this is the ketubah of my parents. Okay, so I think this is all, and I'm open to your questions.
Thank you, Moises. We'll do 3 very brief questions, so you can just answer shortly, and then we'll move on to the next part of the presentation. How many Jews live today in Morocco and in Casablanca specifically?
Okay, barely 2,000. That's the numbers that they provide. There are communities in Casablanca, which is the largest one. 1,600, 1,700 Jews do live in Casablanca. Still, last time I was there in September of last year, there were like 11 working synagogues still, and 2 Jewish day schools. And so 1,700 more or less in Casablanca. And then there are communities in Rabat, in Meknes, in Marrakesh, in Fez, and in Tangier. These are
Thank
like the
you.
communities in Morocco nowadays.
Thank you. Why are all the tombstones white?
Well, I don't know. They have been painted in white. I don't really know. I don't know the reason why they decided to make it like this. I particularly don't like it. They look, but this is what they've decided. So they've been restored. In most of the cases, all the tombstones were in really bad conditions. So that's why they were painted in white. I mean, this is something that someone decided, and I don't really know why.
Thank you. And when people talk about the protected status of the Jews in Moroccan history, what did these protections entail? What were Jews protected from at different moments? If you can answer that briefly, I don't know. It may be a big question.
Okay, no, but we'll say about protection, it's like Jews were considered at some point like subjects to the Sultan. They were their property. And therefore, the Sultan, the king, the ruler, he protects his belongings, and Jews were actually his belongings. So this is a type of protection that, so whoever touches a Jew, actually touches king's property. So this is the concept that you have to see. So when we talk about the protection, is a protection provided to the owner, to his belongings. More or less, this is what the protection means.
Thank you so much, Moises. So now we're going to move on to the second part of this presentation. I think We all really enjoyed learning about Morocco and Moroccan Jewish history. So thank you so much, Moises. And the good news is that he's going to lead a tour in person in April 2026. So those of you who wish to travel to Morocco in real life, that with Moises, with his very extensive knowledge, then you can join this trip. And this trip is being done in partnership, not only with Jewish Spain Tour, which is Moises's tour company, but also with Nora Kaplan Learning Trips, which is another partner of ours and is today represented by Patricia Mizrahi. If she's here, then she can say hello.
Hi everyone. I've seen some familiar faces from previous trips. Spain. Hi Elaine and Bill. How are you? And I've seen a few others. It's really glad for me to say hi and to start this presentation. I'm gonna start sharing the presentations so we can. I manage the trips at Nora Kaplan Learning Trips, and we partner with Kesher to actually run in-person tours. For those who don't know, this is a family business, and actually I'm Sebastian's sister from Kesher, so we are connected, we are family connected. Moises is our tour guide in Spain, and this year also, well, next year also in Morocco. He's a Kesher speaker, and he run our programs in Spain and the Sephardic tours. We also had a trip this year to the Baltics states. But in this brief moment, we're gonna talk about the Morocco trip. I want to introduce you to Alexis, who is our amazing group leader, and she's based in Seattle. I don't know, Alexis, if you are here with us.
I am here, and I'm happy to say hello and tell you more about our upcoming trip to Morocco. So this will be the 6th international trip that Nora Kaplan Learning Trips is putting on in partnership. I've had the great pleasure of traveling with Moises in Spain 3 years in a row, and I see some people on this Zoom who've joined us. The last time I saw Howard, we were sharing paella together. So there you have it. And if you enjoy Jewish history, one of the most amazing ways to do it is by joining a tour in person. And I guess just to kick off, I'd like to share that we think a lot about creating our itineraries to meet the needs of the folks that are joining us on our trips. We provide small group travel. So our groups are usually between 20 and 25, sometimes even smaller. And the group leader from Learning Trips, I'll be joining the group for Morocco along with Moises. We're always available to our participants to help make sure that you are having a wonderful experience with us. As you heard this last hour from Moises, he is a very, very deeply learned person when it comes to the Jewish history of the Iberian Peninsula and Morocco. And because he is a Spanish Moroccan Jewish person, he's able to share personally what does it mean in modern times to be in this part of the world. All of our travel experiences in Morocco and Spain, we make sure to stay in hotels that are conveniently located to shopping and restaurants and sites. We err on the side of charming hotels, so people really get the cultural experience of being in the country. So let's go ahead. We're going to talk briefly, just a little highlights of what we'll be seeing in Morocco on our journey together, and then I'll share with you a few more logistics. As a quick side note, I have had the opportunity and honor really to have group travel experiences with Jewish groups, traveling in India, in different countries in the Americas and Africa, and now also with Moises in Spain. So it's my true passion and love is to experience places with other people too. So we will be visiting synagogues, we will be visiting museums, we will be visiting also the historic and interesting sites of Morocco that are, not as much necessarily tied directly to the Jewish communities. But as Moises was sharing, the Jewish community was integral in Morocco and all of the cities in which we'll be visiting. So there is some Jewish connections in different places. So our trip begins and ends in Casablanca. We will also have several days in Marrakesh. We're doing a desert tour, and in Casablanca, or we can move through, Patty. In Casablanca, we'll be visiting the Museum of Moroccan Judaism, which I think will be so interesting in that it's one of the only Jewish museums, or the only Jewish museum in the Arab world, and enjoying being on a coastal seaside area of Morocco. Next up, we are going to spend time in Marrakesh, which has a large Jewish quarter, also a functioning synagogue. We'll visit the Jewish cemetery. And as I mentioned, we'll have tours of other parts of Morocco. So in Marrakesh, visiting tombs and ruins, and also a Baha'i palace. I'm sure many of you, if you've traveled in Israel, perhaps have visited the Baha'i palace in Haifa. So looking forward to that in Marrakesh. We'll be having a day trip to the desert. So we have the opportunity to see some of those Saharan dunes and have lunch and drink tea. And that will be our day in the desert. And as Moises shared in his talk, we'll be spending time in Asuria, which is one of the, it had a large Jewish community, and there's still synagogues. We'll visit the cemetery and again, enjoy being on the coast. We'll also be visiting Fez and those beautiful synagogues that we saw pictures of. In addition, there's a mosque and university, one of the oldest in the world, where we'll be visiting and going to see the leather tanneries. We'll visit Meknes, which is one of Morocco's 4 imperial cities, and also had a large Jewish population. So it'll be interesting and fun to see a smaller, after being in some of those bigger cities, to be in a smaller town. And we'll be visiting the cemetery and synagogues there. And then finally, Rabat, which is the current capital of Morocco, we'll be spending a day there and both enjoying some of the history, but also more of the modern aspects of Morocco. Wonderful. So what I want to encourage everyone to do is to go to our website so you can really take a look at the day-by-day itinerary. I just wanted to give you highlights so we have time to talk a little bit more about what our travel experiences offer to people. Then, of course, if you have questions, and I saw a few in the chat that we'll address in a minute too. So our tour for Morocco, our group will stay in 5-star hotels. We share hotels with our participants before the journey begins. We can give you some examples if you're curious to see ahead of time. We will have group meals in each of the cities that we visit. One of those will include our Kabbalat Shabbat dinner that we have together. And we'll talk about it in a minute, but breakfast is included every morning as part of the tour at the hotel. We also, and I think this is one of the things that I really find special about our travel experiences with Nora Kaplan and in partnership with Moises, we will have walking tours. Each day we'll be visiting sites of historical significance and beauty, but we will also have time for you to relax and have a leisurely lunch, time to do shopping or relaxing or reading a book. When I've traveled, I've enjoyed going to the hammam when I'm in Cordoba, for an example. So we'll provide you with some suggestions of things that you can do in each location, because we know people have different ways and different amounts of energy when they're traveling. So our tours are not a jam-packed on the bus, off the bus, on the bus, off the bus. See this, see this, see this. We really have a more leisurely approach to learning about Jewish history, seeing the most beautiful and most interesting parts of what the different cities have to offer in terms of both Jewish history and just in terms of touring in Morocco. But we also have time for you to just enjoy being in the cities where we travel. Thank you. So I saw a couple questions about keeping kosher and also Shabbat on our trip. So we are not able to provide hechshered kosher food for our tours, but we are able to make sure that there's vegetarian options wherever we are. We will celebrate Kabbalat Shabbat together, and depending on the location, Saturday morning, there might be services to participate in. We also make sure on Shabbat that we don't have any travel. So there isn't any taxis or buses or travel needed. So if you are more Shabbat observant, we can definitely talk with you if there's anything else we can do to help make your Shabbat experience what you like in terms of your observance, but we aren't able to offer hechshered or certified kosher food for our tour. Great. So our prices have now been set for this upcoming tour. You can go on the website to learn more about the prices and conditions. We are going to be offering an early bird for those who are paid for the trip by January 12th. And you'll note there is a single supplement. And we're happy to try and pair people up with another single person. If they'd like to share a room, we can get hotel rooms with 2 beds. But hotels, unfortunately, charge more for single travelers. So unfortunately, we have to pass that cost along to people. I just saw a quick question. Someone asked if someone could travel if they used a walker. And I would say that for folks, you know, we often have travelers who are using walking poles. You know, for sure, Spain, and Moises could speak more to Morocco. Not always the places where we're going are they fully ADA accessible, but if you need some support for your walking, and group leaders, we're also happy to lend an arm. But I would say that if there will be stairs, there will be some cobblestones during our travels together. Excellent. And I want to share what does the price include? So the price of the tour includes 5-star hotel accommodations with breakfast every morning. Somebody had asked at the beginning, this tour will be from April 12th through the 23rd. So it's 11 nights of hotel accommodations, and we'll be staying in 3 or 4 different cities. So we won't be switching hotels every night. We'll be staying for 2, 3, 4 nights at a hotel before moving to a different city. The price also includes all of the travel within Morocco from place to place and 4 group meals. So you will be on your own for other meals for lunch and dinner, but there's lots of restaurants and different eating opportunities and lots of options at different price points while you're there. Our price also includes the entrance fees that are listed for all the places that we're going on the itinerary, Moises as our tour guide for the whole tour, and then we'll also have specialized tour guides in various places. So the price includes all of that. What the price does not include is the flights internationally to and from Morocco. We definitely recommend supplemental travel and health insurance. Everyone should check into that for themselves. Any extra things that you want to do while you're there. And we also suggest and recommend that folks bring $10 per day per person that we will collect at the beginning of the trip. So Moises is able to tip bus drivers and the hotel staff that are moving our bags around. We try to make our travel experiences as easy as possible for you, the traveler. So we ask for everyone to mark their suitcases, so we're able to help make sure your suitcases get to your hotel room and on the bus and off the bus. I saw a quick question. Somebody asked a little bit about just what is the experience for Jewish people in Morocco right now, and also just in terms of tourism. And what I would share is that Morocco is very, very tourist friendly and is known to be such. The government appreciates how important tourism is to Morocco, and tourists are treated very, very well. Moises, what would you say in terms of what does it feel like to be Jewish in Morocco right now?
Okay. I was last time I was in Morocco was now it's September. I was in September last year with a group actually from Canada, and they were very well received, and of course they can tell that we are Jews, no matter that you don't have any symbols on you. But the truth is that, as it may be some animosity for some of the people, the government, the monarchy, not the government, the king, and what means the monarchy, is very much interested in keeping a safe place for Jews. So they very much enforce authorities to maintain an eye and to make sure that nothing happens. So today, Morocco is no, to be honest, I feel much more comfortable as a Jew in Tangier than in Paris. I was in Paris a few weeks ago, and wow, to be in Paris or to be in London these days is not very easy. In Morocco, despite being a place in the Arab world, the situation is at some point better. I'm not saying that nothing will happen for sure, because anything can happen anywhere in the world, but the authorities, again, are very much interested in keeping a safe country. Don't forget that Morocco receives a lot of tourists a year, and that's the only way for them to get money from outside. So they are the first ones interested that things go smoothly. So, for example, when I travel with groups to Morocco, we have always security with us, which is provided by the Ministry of Interior. So they know our itinerary all the time. They know where we are sleeping, and of course, I know who they are, and they are with the group, not the same team all the time. So it depends in each city, but their work is to make sure that nothing happens to tourists.
Great. Thank you so much, Moises. I just checked. You do not need a visa to travel to Morocco unless you're planning on spending more than 90 days there. And Moises, what's the currency of Morocco?
The Moroccan dirham. So the dirham, it's about today it's about $8. No, sorry, 8 dirhams per dollar.
Got it.
Approximately.
I also looked, April is a pretty popular time to travel in Morocco because the weather is so nice, and we expect it to be in the 70s, maybe the low 80s. Someone just asked, do we supply transportation from the airport to the hotel? We do not. We ask our travelers to take a taxi from the airport to the hotel. Often that's because we have participants on our trip who are coming from all over the world and people's flights.
Yes.
So we might be able to arrange it for you,
Yeah, exactly.
but we don't
Yes.
always, because oftentimes too, if people are coming early, like sometimes our travelers will decide to help with their jet lag, maybe by coming a day or two ahead of time. But we can certainly talk about
Yes, if the arrival is very close to the date of the tour start, yeah, we will be able to arrange. Probably a few of you came to a very similar time, and we can arrange that. We don't do it in Europe, for example, because people come here like week before, 2 weeks before, so it's not part of our logistic.
Great.
But we can easily, we'll be happy to do that. And once we have the list of arrivals, because some people will fly via Paris, some others via London, some others. It depends. Once we have the full list, those visitors that they want us to arrange transportation from the airport to the hotel, we'll be happy to do so. Done it many times.
Great. So I see we just have a few minutes left. One question is, what airport do we fly into? Arrival and departure will be from Casablanca. Do you know the name of the airport, Moises?
Yeah, Mohammed V.
Mohammed V. There you go. Yeah. So I know for me, I'm very, I love the, just in general, like Judaism and Christianity, and that, you know, although we idealize it, but that sort of golden age of being together in that part of the world. I'm a big fan of tiles and all of the geometry that you get to see in Islamic architecture. So I'm personally very excited to see that and enjoy a lot of couscous and tagines and delicious food. I love traveling. I love traveling with other people. And I hope that if you're interested in joining us, please reach out to me, reach out to Patty. We're happy to set up a phone call or a small Zoom with people if they have questions about the trip. I see, Howard, you have a question about extensions before or after. We don't currently have anything planned, but we'd be happy to talk with you if you're interested in exploring some other places to see within Morocco or close by. And please visit the website, check out the trip details. And as you have questions, please be in touch with me and with Patty. And I hope to see some of you in Morocco after Pesach next year. So thank you, Kesher, for the opportunity. Moises, it's always so nice to see you, and Patty, and some of our past. And I saw Dory on this call, who's joining us in Spain. As a reminder, we do have a few spots left for our Spain trip, which is October 26th through November 6th. So if you're interested, reach out and we'll be sure to share that information and get you registered.
Thank you so much, Alexis and Patricia and Moises, for, well, you've already answered all the questions. So I just want to tell you all that we're going to share all this information with you tomorrow. So all the registrants will receive this recording. You will receive the website with the itinerary. You will receive the email address of Alexis, where you can, and Patricia, where you can reach out for questions, and they're already in the chat. So those of you who already want to jump on the website and check it out, you can find it also in the chat, but you will receive all this information also from us tomorrow. And we'll also share information about the Spain trip if someone wants to still join this October. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us and for being here and for your interest. Our next event will be actually also, we're staying in the North Africa topic. If you want to join us this Sunday, we have a very, very interesting event about the Jews of Libya. It's by David Jerby, who actually was personally expelled when he was 12 years old in 1967. And along with sharing the story of Libyan Jewry, he will also speak a lot about his story and his efforts of trying to preserve still today the heritage of Libyan Jewry. So please join us also on Sunday, and of course join the trip in Morocco. We'll be really happy if some of you decided to travel with Moises and Alexis next year. So thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, please reach out.
Thank you. It sounds great. Looking forward.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining.